back to another excellent episode of Sock Talk. It is week 9. A lot has been happening, as we'd like to think. So, Adam, let's talk about one of the few trades that we made.
Let's talk about the gamesmanship of Griff this week. Just picking up a bunch of QBs, seeing Jasmus might have like 3 hurt on his roster and 1 on bye. So he just went out there and picked everyone up. I thought that was very smart. I thought that's a good play by him. Kind of blocking your opponent of getting something they need via the waiver wire. You could also obviously do this like a trade too, which is exactly what he did. Trading PJ Walker, who he picked up 2 Jasmus for 60 fab.
Traded 60 fab, but he picked him up for 50, so he made 10 fab with the move. The move did not end up hurting him, as Griffin still got the win. But excellent gamesmanship over there.
There was also a lot of talk on, I think Evan was saying it, was like, Jasmus, you should have got Sam Howell, because he's good. And I think Trevor was also, because Trevor's obviously rooting against his division. Wouldn't have made a difference. He would have scored 20 more points and still lost. Would have been a much closer game, but no QB would have had Jasmus pulling it out this week that he didn't already have. So didn't really matter. Jasmus stayed put and just kind of took his loss, and didn't matter. Could have, but it didn't this week.
Not all of us can be the War Eagles, man. And then our second trade involved James and Steve. Steve received running back Kareem Hunt, traded away at 2025 second. This move looked really good when it looked like Ford was going to miss time, and then Ford didn't miss time.
It never looked really good.
I'm trying to kind of kill the anti-Cran narrative here.
This is where it should be in full effect.
It's not a great deal.
Kareem Hunt for a second in the year of our Lord.
To be fair, Kareem Hunt has cracked at least 13 points the last 3 games.
He scored 4 touchdowns in his last 3 games.
The fall into the end zone roll.
If he keeps the fall into the end zone roll, it's not bad. But then he's also not getting any work, like not inside the 20.
Yeah,
that's all like Ford and Pierre.
And Steve also has
Ford. I don't know. I think trading for Kareem Hunt is a good idea. I'm not saying that's the bad part. I just think that was a steep price to pay. I think maybe like a third gets it done.
Most likely.
I think that's more likely what the value is. Maybe James doesn't do that then, and it's like, I'll keep him, but I think his value is more of in the late third range rather than a second.
Maybe 2/4 get the job done.
Yeah, something like that. But no, we also had some big injuries.
Yeah.
My guy Kirk.
I feel like the world is sad that Kirk's hurt.
Yeah, I feel like he was super likable. And it sucks.
Yeah, it does.
And fantasy-wise, it's definitely going to hurt the pass catchers there. They did trade for
Josh Dobbs. It's so Cam Akers' team now. It's not even funny. Get Cam Akers for a second while you can.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to definitely be a worse offense. Hurts, Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson. Yeah. Hopefully Dobbs is able to be okay. He had some good weeks in Arizona, and hopefully with a better supporting cast, he could learn the playbook quick and do all right. But this week with Jaron Hall, not expecting the most.
No.
Also, Matt Stafford's hurt. I think they said today he's not going to go on IR.
But he is missing time.
But is missing time with a thumb injury. Kind of the same thing Justin Fields has, maybe. I think I might have saw that. Could be wrong. But, yeah, it's when will his thumb work? It's on the throwing hand. So that probably hurts breakout Puka Nakua and Cooper Kupp over those weeks. Because, again, who's their backup? I think someone said it was Brett Ripon.
And do they have Stetson still, or did he get cut?
I don't know. He might be in, like, rehab or something.
Let's go check on our boy Stetson. I think the wildest thing is that Stetson Bennett was in college for all that time, and doesn't have a degree.
Yeah.
Likely
out for season with the Rams.
Less than likely to return.
Is he in rehab?
Non-football related illness since early September. Rehab sounds like a good gig.
So yeah, it's gonna be Ripon. I don't know how well that's gonna go, if I'm being honest. So that could be a little bit hurtful to some of the better pass catchers. I do think it's crazy. I feel like so many QBs are getting hurt this year.
Yeah,
like
we had a lot of
especially with how much more they're protected nowadays.
Rodgers, Cousins, Fields,
Stafford, Garoppolo missed some time. There's definitely more that I'm not thinking of right now, but
yeah,
I feel like there's been Watson.
That's 7. That's a lot of QBs.
Yeah, and then there's also been the ones just like banged up. Burrow was like very iffy to start the year. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Been a lot of injuries to QB, and I feel like that's usually one that you maybe see a few. Richardson.
Yeah.
That's like a third of the quarterbacks.
Not great.
Not great.
But
let's go talk power rankings.
Let's do it.
All right. We are back with power rankings, and we're back with Ryan at 12.
Yeah.
But your week wasn't super pathetic.
I would have beaten you.
Yeah.
Feel good about yourself.
But you didn't play me.
No.
Yeah, you put up 114. Hurts looked sick. Hall looked sick. Gabe Davis did well. Soon to be on my team, Gabe Davis.
2 first gets it done.
Cole Kmet.
10 catches.
Rest of the team, I did tell you to play Taysom Hill.
You did.
Over Kadarius Toney.
My biggest thing was I said,
I'm going to play Kadarius Toney over Taysom Hill.
No. It was that it was questionable for Taysom to play. I'm like, he's probably not going to get a ton of looks.
It's more questionable for him to score 1 touchdown or 2.
Yeah, so maybe that changes.
I saw something Taysom Hill since like week 6 is tight end 2 behind only Travis Kelce.
Guess I gotta throw my QB next week.
Why are like 7 different people running 2 tight end sets? We're like, man, tight ends are horrible.
Is that what I do against Steve next week? Instead of like picking Gardner Minshew and Jimmy Garoppolo, just put Taysom Hill there. That'd be kind of fun.
Crazy.
That would go hard.
But like, you might run 2 tight end. James was running 2. I'm running 2.
The 2 tight end set kind of goes hard.
Someone else was, I think, 2. It's like, man, the 2 tight end sets go crazy. Yeah, but the rest of your team,
Yeah, they were mid.
But Cam Akers sucks, but he scored a touchdown, so maybe
there's something there.
Keeps up. And Mingo was a little involved.
Had a nice catch for like 40 yards.
Yeah, so that was something. We did discover that you're going to win your next, 5 games.
Yeah, no, it's a fact.
Next week when we're back here, Ryan's going to be on the start of his hot streak.
Hopefully not at 12.
Number 11, we have Matt. Put up 116. Another very respectable week. And that was with Kenny Pickett getting hurt, leaving like second-ish quarter, I think, and only scoring 3 points. Laporta, still really good. Garrett Wilson, good in a horrible, horrible Jets-Giants game.
Yeah.
And then Rashid Shaheed, 3 catches, 153 yards, and a touchdown.
I think I saw Derek Carr post on Instagram today. It was a picture of him throwing the ball, and the caption was, "Fuck it, Rashid Shaheed down there somewhere."
Yeah.
So you Mike Thomas and Chris Olave, guys, watch out. Rashid Shaheed might be the new number 1.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I think, again, his team is looking solid. Charbonnet was a little more involved and looked decent, played 59% of snaps, 10 yards per carry. That's not bad. We'll see if that continues to grow. JSN found the end zone again. Still not putting up crazy weeks by any means, but trending upwards. And yeah, I think that's good for Matt's team. Has some guys going in the right direction.
Some guys being dudes.
10, I have James. James only scored 90 points.
30 of that was Hopkins.
Yeah, Hopkins went crazy.
For no reason.
4 catches, 128 yards, 3 tutties.
touchdowns.
Maybe Will Levis's guy going forward, because he's kind of got a cannon. Hopkins getting open, doing his thing. But then you look at the rest of his team. James probably wins this matchup a lot of the time. Because how often is Mahomes scoring 5 points?
Let's look at the last time Mahomes scored under 10 points. It wasn't this year.
It wasn't last year.
It was 2021 week
7.
11, the most recent time. And I think that game he got hurt.
Nope, he played 100% of snaps.
Never mind.
He just didn't throw a touchdown.
Interesting.
But yeah, he's been very good. I think there's a higher chance of him scoring like 35 than 5. And if he does that, he wins this matchup. Also, Darren Waller re-injured the hamstring.
Might never play again.
Yeah, his hamstrings are brittle and frail.
Not young and spry like one Melvin Gordon.
Yes, maybe out weeks. I guess he gets to go to... He was running the 2 tight end set 2 with Dalton Schultz.
Darren Waller.
Should have been Cade Otton.
Should have been.
But we'll see where he goes from here. Again, I don't think this team is dead by any means. And again, I think this was... Hopkins went crazy, but a bad week. How often is Pickens only catching the ball once?
At least it was a touchdown.
Yeah, Drake London a little banged up, too. Made a good catch and kind of got hurt. I think there's better days ahead, but then we do look at Miles Sanders, who we just traded for. 2 carries for 0 yards.
Not great.
He may be...
Did great in pass protection, though. I'll say that.
That scores you a lot of fantasy points.
Oh, no, I'm just a Panthers fan. I don't give a shit about the fantasy points.
9, Steve. Steve put up about 100. Just a week. I think the promising thing here, Trey McBride, 10 catches on 14 targets, 95 yards, and a touchdown on his bench. Dalton Kincaid had another good week, bouncing off.
Is he better on the 2 tight end set?
Like, again, the 2 tight end set is running wild amongst bad teams.
Kobe Myers did nothing, but then again, which Packers receiver did something?
Not on the Packers.
Or not.
Raiders.
There
we go.
Close enough.
Yeah, again, just also wasn't his week. Christian Kirk, kind of a down week. QB, Jordan Love is
I think it's time to just admit that he sucks.
Yeah, he's not that good. And then the whole Cleveland backfield was kind of split three ways. He did play Hunt, which was the right decision, found the end zone. But we'll see what it's going to be going forward. Also, don't hate this team. Think it's actually decently solid, depth kind of wise, like having people to go out there and score some points. We'll see how it rolls out with some interesting matchups over the next few weeks with Cherry, you, then me.
Very interesting indeed.
8, I have Jasmus. Jasmus put up 125.
Sadly didn't win.
Did not win. But Eckler finally looked good again. Maybe getting a little more healthy. He's really bad at running the ball.
Yeah.
He's averaging like 2 yards a carry over these 3 weeks back. But through the air had 94 receiving yards and a touchdown. That's kind of always been where he's made his bread and butter. So as long as that keeps up. I do think losing Kendrick Bourne is sneaky a big loss.
Yeah, because that means right now his wide receiver 3 is Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Yeah.
Unless he decides to run the 2 tight end set at some point.
Yeah. Well, you can't because he needs him at the receiver.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, so the wide receiver 3 I think is going to be up in the air for a little bit going forward. Cooper Kupp, we talked about it, losing Stafford. Also just hasn't been great the past 2 weeks.
No.
Only 6 catches for 50 yards in his past 2 games combined. Assume we're going to get a bounce back, but maybe not without Stafford as much as we'd necessarily like. But Jasmine's also had crazy luck with a Gus Edwards 3 touchdown week and Donta Foreman 3 touchdown week last week. Just was unable to capitalize on either of those. You don't know how many of those we're going to get throughout a year, and not hitting when those happen kind of hurts. So we'll see if they can keep scoring 3 touchdowns a game or not. But I think Jasmine's team is running a little bit thin. 7,
Yeah.
have Evan. Evan pulled off the big win versus Cherry. Gibbs is here. He's arrived.
I think it's time to use him even when Montgomery's back.
But will they?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not.
And I think
this is an Anteaters stand account. Not a Dan Campbell stand account.
you have to think that they're like, wow, this guy's good after watching these past 2 weeks. But you never know.
You really don't.
So we'll see when Montgomery gets back if this keeps up. Waddle finally had a good first kind of blow-up game of the year. Oh, he's a Penguin.
Yes, that was actually one of our questions this week.
First game over 20 this year. First game over 100 yards. Scored a touchdown. Devonta Smith had a good week. Played Jawan Jennings, who scored 0. That was a big point of discussion.
Played one less snap than Ayuk.
Played one less snap than Ayuk. Gotta account for that. But he obviously has his pieces and then has his holds as well. The tight end position, that second flex.
Is it time to start Howell over Herbert?
Probably not. But you never know. Herbert does have the Jets this week. Howell has the Patriots. Probably not, but
Probably
he was shopping Howell, and that could be a decent idea. So we'll see if he keeps winning or not. 6, I have who he played, Cherry. Not Cherry's best week by any means.
No. Ken Walker's been looking kind of rough.
Yeah, he started off really hot, and then it's kind of slowed down these past 2 weeks.
Charbonnet eating into his role. I think he
just hasn't found the end zone, too.
Yeah.
Where he was finding it at a very good rate. early on. Bison found the end zone. His tummy didn't hurt this week, but still not having the year I think everybody thought he was.
I think people expect him to come out here and kind of put up Gibbs numbers every week.
Yeah, I think they were expecting top 5 RB, top 3, kind of like a Saquon rookie year.
He's an RB1 right now.
Yeah, but I think it's still a little bit. Besides those first 2, I think those first 2 weeks are what people were expecting, like 20 points.
Yeah.
And then we haven't seen that since. So I think it's fair to say he's a little bit of a disappointment. And then a lot of players just did solid. Calvin Ridley, Marquise Brown, Jameson Williams might not be the best, but
yeah,
I don't know. It'll be interesting where this team kind of ends up with some of these players not quite living up to where they were at the beginning of the season when he was on that big win streak, or maybe just kind of what we thought of them. 5, I have myself, was not my best week, but I was lucky enough to pull out a win.
Really wish I played you this week. That would have been very funny.
Yeah. Jordan Addison, good. He's been thriving without Jefferson, but again, with Cousins hurt, I wonder how that production will kind of fall. Also, he's been scoring a touchdown like every game. Don't know if that's going to keep up, and those numbers will probably fall back down a little bit to maybe like 15 points instead of these 30 points that he's been putting up these past 2 weeks. And then Dak had a good game, throwing a lot to just CD Lamb, it felt like. But it was good to see him kind of get things back on track, especially for me, with Kirk now done
Dead
for the year.
That too.
At number 4, Zach. Speaking of CeeDee Lamb, put up 41 points for Zach this week.
That I would call that pretty good.
158 yards, 2 touchdowns. McCaffrey, the 49ers are like, offense isn't looking that good. McCaffrey's still putting up crazy points. Mixon put up 20. Kittle put up 23. Not Adam Thielen's best week, only 15, but he put up 166 points.
With Devontae only getting 2.
Yeah. Good for the most in the league this week, so very promising sign for Zach.
Congrats to Zach.
3, have Trevor. Only 5-3, but is now sitting in a playoff spot. Had a very good. AJ Brown's ridiculous. He's just.
Yeah, dude. I was playing him this week, and even some of the catches he was making, I was like, damn, you know what? That's just game recognized game. I respect.
Is he just the best receiver in the NFL right now?
He might. It's hard to argue against Tyreek, but.
Yeah, but I think Tyreek is good, but also gets a lot of help from like motions and stuff and like that whole offense. I think AJ Brown just goes out there and then just like bullies a cornerback one-on-one.
Yeah.
Like, I'll line up across from you and just win. Tyreek is just like, I'm going to be in motion at full speed and run right by you. Both ridiculous, and he has them both.
Yeah.
So that's tough to beat when you have wide receiver 1 and 2. I guess the only bad thing here, Puka and Hawk, like we talked about a lot already, going to be having QB downgrades, and we'll kind of see.
They got to use
What's up
Hawkinson
with
more
them.
protection-wise for a new QB, or...
Is he still going to be the safety blanket? I think the main thing with Minnesota, it's like, are they just not going to throw as much? Or
Are they going to hand the ball to Alexander Madison and Cam Akers?
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
It seems like Dobbs loves his tight ends.
Last week, yeah. Maybe Hawk's fine.
Who knows?
2, have Ethan. Ethan put up 153. ETN has been phenomenal these past few weeks, up to RB2 on the year, or 4 weeks, 36, 23, 22, 25. Has scored 7 touchdowns in that 4-game stretch. I think you're taking that if you're Ethan. Derrick Henry over 100 yards, 16 points. Jamar Chase, 10 catches for 100 and a touchdown. I think the only thing here is like Trevor Lawrence is still a little bit disappointing. Has yet to break 20 points this year. But his only other option is Zach Wilson, so I don't know if he's...
Who will be starting this week?
Who will be starting this week for him. But I don't know if that's necessarily great, but maybe something to be a little bit worried about in the future. But I guess also if he's not throwing touchdowns, it's ETN running them in, so I guess you're fine that way.
Yeah.
And number 1, Griff. Griff is very good. Kamara, 27 points. He's averaging 22 points a game, is RB6 on the year with missing the first 3 weeks. I'm going to say that's pretty good. Josh Allen, 29. This whole team just kind of put up 15. I think the only big question mark here is Tony Pollard. RB16 on the year. I know in redraft he was like a round 1 pick or early round 2 pick for a lot of people. Only 1 game over 20, 3 games below 10. 3 of those being out of his last 4. I think people were expecting Zeke's gone, Pollard's going to take over and be dominant, and then that didn't quite happen. But
yeah,
could always bounce back. And that's power rankings. I think this is one of the least we've changed. Last year I had...
Last week, not last year.
That's a good point. Yeah, none of the top 4 changed. Then me and Sherry swapped it 5 and 6. And then like 7, 8, 9, 10 swapped like 1 up and 2 down. But yeah, it was pretty I think we're kind of getting to that point of the year with power rankings where we kind of know who's good, kind of know who's okay,
and know who's Ryan.
and kind of know Ryan. And then
well, we'll see if I can get out of the basement. Matchup previews starting right now. And we are back. Matchup previews, week 9. First, let's look back at week 8. Adam, give us some good news.
the good news is you scored points.
Let's go.
This week. Yeah. You did only go 1 and 2.
Points are points, man.
You picked myself to win, which I did. Got you 5.3. You didn't upset Trevor.
No.
And Cherry also lost. I went 2 and 1. Jasmine did not pull off the upset, but Ethan and Zach won theirs, so I got 5.9. So I still managed to outdo you, only by 0.6. Getting the records to 19 and 5, 12 and 12. You're right at 500. And point wise, 79.4 to 47.3. So I am up 32.1 points. How are you going to get it back?
Are there any storylines from last week?
No, last week the stories kind of sucked.
Okay, word. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. I got to come out with a banger. Right?
Oh, God.
And there's
Matt.
there's a narrative that we got to lay to rest today. The anti-Cran narrative dies now. I'm taking Steve to win over Cherry for 5.4 points. I just like his matchups this week. He's got a lot of good ones. The only one I don't like is the DeMarcado versus Cleveland. But I think he can get past that and take down Cherry. It's supposed to be a close game. I'm going with Steve.
Cherry does have Calvin Ridley and Cortland Sutton and Jameson Williams on a bye. Steve has Christian Kirk on a bye, so they're both missing some options. Yeah, I think this will be really close. I think it's pretty 50-50. I think Tua might go off because them versus the Chiefs might be a shootout in Germany, right?
Germany, yeah.
Germany. Steve's running backs, they're both questionable.
At least he has their backups.
He does have their backup, so I guess if they're hurt, that's good, but I think it's going to be scary when they're questionable and do play, and it's super split. I also wonder if he thinks about rocking like a Ford and Hunt backfield. Just says, hey, if Cleveland runs the ball, unless it's Pierre, I'm getting points against a weaker Arizona team. Running the 2 tight end set, love to see it. I think, yeah, this is very close, and I think Steve has a decent shot to pull off the upset, but I would have picked Cherry. I just think Bijan, Ken Walker, Hollywood, Rashad White, it's like too consistent of point scorers, where Steve has some guys where it's like, will they, won't they? Will Kincaid keep it up? Will McBride keep it up? I don't know. But game to watch here is definitely
Cleveland, Arizona.
Yeah, Steve has 1, 2, 3 guys, and then Cherry has 2 guys. So
There's 5 guys in one game.
that is a lot. I think the big thing from Steve too is, will he play the right quarterback? I don't think he's done that for a few weeks. It was Rockin' Love. Going with Carr this week for now, so we'll see how that turns out. And then Steve is actually 2-0 versus Cherry, including a win in week 7. They played 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Steve got the win. Can he do it again?
We'll have to see. Who is your first pick?
This is tough. I'm gonna go with Zach to beat Trevor.
That was going to be my next pick.
For 5.4 points. If we look at their history, this will be their 10th matchup together. Trevor is 5-4 with a 197 point differential. So almost even, but Trevor dominates when he wins. Zach has won his previous 2. They also played week 1 this year. Zach snuck out a win by like 2-point-something points, so it was very close. I do expect the same again. Probably a similar result of Zach sneaking out a win by a handful of points. For buys, Zach is missing Kittle, Montgomery, and McCaffrey, but I don't think that really, it definitely slows him down. McCaffrey has been massive for him, but I think Devontae, after freaking out last Monday, that was Monday, right?
Yeah.
Freaking out Monday, going with Aiden O'Connell, who fed him a lot. I think they're going to be like, we need to get this guy the ball so he doesn't quit.
Yeah.
Could have a huge week. CeeDee just had a huge week, and they're up against the Eagles. Like, it's going to be a big game. I think he's going to try to show out again. Mixon versus Buffalo, as long as we don't have a repeat of that Monday night game.
Yeah.
If they get the full game in, I think it could be really high scoring. Mixon
So,
could go off.
funny enough, this will be the second time that Trevor and Zach will play when Buffalo and Cincinnati does. Let's hope for better results. Last time it left, we didn't know who the champion was for a solid week and a half.
Yeah, and then again, I'm still worried about Atlanta. Jaron Hall to Hawk. I think that might be a little sketchy. So
yeah,
I do think this will be a very close game, but I have Zach edging it out.
All right, so for my next pick, I'm gonna go with Matt. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to go a little safer here with my next one, but not too safe. I'm taking the Crusade over the Minutemen. James over Jasmus for 5.1 points. I think Mahomes going to ball out in Munich. Also, I do like Chuba versus Indianapolis. He seems to have kind of taken the RB1 role in Carolina, with Miles Sanders being more of the pass-blocking back. Don't love Dameon Pierce. My computer just died. That's pretty sick. And Cooks versus Philly is interesting because Cooks isn't the guy there, but he has gotten a touchdown, I think, the last 2 games they've played. So, two of the last 3, I think.
Yeah, their 2 last games.
Also Pickens versus Tennessee. Another guy looking to ball out this week after only having 1 catch last week. Only concerning thing is, I would say, Dalton Schultz.
Yeah. Jasmus has won 3 straight matchups against James, so Jasmus is on the hot streak. I think it'll be interesting. Another really close matchup. I think Pacheco's looking to bounce back after not a great week, but I do think if Hopkins goes, probably won't put up 30-something points again, but should have another solid week. And I think it's kind of that thing you see in my brain where they kind of had a disappointing week last week. They're probably going to bounce back.
Yeah, they're going to ball.
They're not going to stay disappointing.
Fuck it, we ball.
But I do think Eckler on... I think this will be a game where you're watching it on Monday night. I will be at the Jets game Monday night.
Oh, nice.
Watching Eckler to will he do enough to come back. For my next pick, I'm going to take myself to beat Griff.
Bold call. When you have a 30-point lead, you can do this.
Show a little faith in me.
That is a bold call.
I think we're looking at buys. No Ayuk, no Amon-Ra, and obviously Jefferson still hurt. Could be a...
It is interesting because, again, with the projections, it has Downs getting 11, Tank Dell getting 9. Obviously, they could either get 30, they could get 2, they could tear their Achilles first play of the game. We don't know.
Yeah. Downs has been really good recently, so I do think he should have a good week. It's also Griff is currently sitting Tony Pollard, who we did talk about as kind of disappointing this year, up against a tough Philly defense. I don't love my matchups, but I also just don't love his. I think Vegas's run defense has been horrible. I have Saquon going up against that. I think Kamara also probably goes crazy against Chicago, though. I think it'll be a close matchup.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close, and the projections say. Maybe Griffin's kryptonite is the Sock Talk hosts.
Well, he already... speaking of it, I'm 6-3 all time, but he did win week 3 of this year. So I do have the winning record against him, but he did beat me this year already. I just think when you think of Griff's team, you're like, man, that wide receiver trio, Amon-Ra, Jefferson, Ayuk, they're all not playing. So I'm playing him at
looks pretty vulnerable.
One of his weakest. He'll be maybe all year. I don't know if he has another horrible bye week coming up or something where like every running back is. But definitely not getting him at full strength and think I could maybe sneak out a win.
All right. Well, it's that time of the program, Adam. Do we remember what this is? This is an Anteaters Stan account.
Not this week.
Give me Evan for 5.6 points. Why? Again, I think we said it's going to be a shootout over in Germany. He's got Waddle going up against the Kansas City secondary. Some of his matchups are not great, I'm not going to lie. But I have faith Adam, you're going to see Justin Herbert go out there. He's going to ball.
Can we just take a minute to talk about the last 4 people on his roster? Noah Brown, Jonnu Smith, Royce Freeman, and Brandon Powell.
Hey, Brandon Powell has been pretty decent.
2 points last.
But he had 10 the week before. Like, think about what the opportunities he has.
Like, I do think Royce is a decent option of if he could find the end zone. Jonnu's, for some reason, like a tight end 1 this year.
Yeah.
Noah
Brown is interesting.
I had Noah Brown for a while. That was fun.
Listen, with the way my season's been going, I see myself with the better chance to win, and I'm going.
I don't belong here.
I don't belong here.
This game might be like first to 80 wins.
Just might be.
I don't think it'll be.
It's probably going to come down to Hall versus Herbert Monday night. So the game to watch or the game to go to: Chargers versus Jets at MetLife Stadium, 8:15 Monday. Meet and greet with Adam.
Meet and greet with me at.
What section?
I don't know. That'll get sent out later.
Yeah, tweet that with the Soccer account. Meet and greet with Adam, MetLife Stadium, section whatever.
Yeah, this will be if someone has a big week. If Hall goes off 2 touchdowns. If Devonta Smith is finding the end zone going for over like 150 yards.
If Gabe Davis does
what Gabe Davis does, I think.
I'll say this: he's been more consistent, probably the most consistent year of his career. He had 2 stinker weeks. 3 stinker weeks, but he's got 5 good weeks.
Are we calling 10 points a good week?
That's a touchdown, baby. That means they're looking for him in the end zone. That's all that means.
I do think it was promising. He got like some of the most targets he's had ever, maybe, last week. Gabe is here to stay. I think, whoever gets the big week.
Adam was not a Gabe Davis truther.
And I guess,
telling me Gabe Davis is not going to be a good option for your fantasy team. And he's been a pretty solid wide receiver, too, for me.
No.
No, you're a Gabe Davis hater. Just admit it. You said, we got to get rid of Gabe Davis.
You heard it. Gabe Davis is a good wide receiver 2 option on the worst team in your fantasy league.
He is holding the Buffalo Bills season together right now.
Yeah, definitely Gabe Davis.
Yes. Next pick.
Evan is 6-1 all-time versus you with a 144-point differential and won the matchup against you in Week 6 this year. So
as he should have.
Definitely had your number.
As he should.
I think it'll be a fun game to watch. And then that leaves me taking. Do I do it?
Does he do it? Does he make the call?
Ethan currently has Rico Dowdle in his lineup and Zach Wilson as his QB. But his team is too damn good, so I'm just going to take Ethan anyway.
Takes his 3.2 points like the pussy he is.
You could just coast when you have a lead. You wouldn't know about that.
No, I'm pretty sure I was leading like the first 2 or 3 weeks.
Where'd that go? I'm on pace to double you by next week.
Bet.
But yeah, it's just the team's too good. Jamar, Diggs, Keenan, all not in great matchups, but they're just great players. Kelsey will probably go off against Miami after, like you said, with Mahomes, the bounce back week. I think he's going to do very good. I think Olave has a chance to kind of bounce back, and Dotson kind of got things going last week for the first time. Not expecting much for Rico Dowdle. I think I'm sitting him in my 32-man league, so how is he playing here? But that's where we end up. But I think it could be sneaky closer than we expect. Is Will Levis going to throw for 4 touchdowns? Probably not, but he did it once. Garrett Wilson. Rashee Rice has shown promise. Rashid Shaheed, will he catch 3 catches for 150 yards? I don't know.
We don't know.
And Ethan, won his first 4 matchups versus Matt, but then lost the last one last year, I think in week 2 maybe.
Yeah, it's pretty early.
So I do think Ethan just makes that 5-1.
All right, that is matchup previews. Stick around next week, and Adam has doubled his lead against me. Are we doing questions this week?
We'll have another quick segment.
All right, we got another quick segment after this.
We are here. We didn't really get a lot of questions. I only got one. Ethan asked, is his vote for John Mechie as biggest draft bust justified yet?
All right, Ethan, I have some homework for you. You're gonna get lung cancer, okay? And you're gonna recover. Don't worry. And you're gonna go play in the National Football League. When you do that, you can justify your vote.
I think it's kind of fair. This is the first season, and then came back and has not done anything.
The pick was better back when the only wide receiver on the Texans was Brandon Cooks. Nico Collins was there, but didn't have a big enough role yet to be justified to start over their second or third round pick.
I also still just think that the man who won it, Sky Moore, has a good case.
Yeah,
he went 5 picks earlier. He's playing and just not doing anything. So I think it's definitely fair to say Sky Moore. But I think the vote is kind of justified. And first it was like, how could you do that? He had cancer. And now it's like, he doesn't have cancer now. He's still not good.
We'll see. Jury's still out on him. We also did have another question. And Adam, do you want to pull up Jalen Waddle real quick on your phone?
Yeah.
It's not on the computer. My computer's dead. But Evan, let's show the folks at home. Evan wanted to know what this is. And from my understanding, it is a club penguin
wearing a
Jalen Waddle jersey, as in reference to the Waddle celebration where he pretends to be a penguin. So, Evan, we are very happy to get that answered for you. It took hours of research for us to figure that out.
We've been in the lab for days.
Yeah, it's been wild. So do you have anything else?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think... I said this to you off air for a little. I think this is a very big week in this year's path. Whatever. That was a good sentence.
Those were words put in a certain order to formulate a thought.
But I think this is huge. This year we haven't really dove in on matchup of the weeks or anything. But I think there are a lot of really important matchups this week. I think Jasmus versus James is huge. They're basically fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
If Jasmus wins, it will keep him in either second or third place in the playoffs. If James loses, he's going to be 2 full games out and trailing a little on points, so tough to make up 2 games.
They're going to match up again in 2 weeks,
yeah.
Which is even crazier. Both of those games are must-win for either team.
Yeah, you at least need to be able to split and not lose a game there. It's 3 weeks after, yeah.
3 weeks, sorry.
So, that's a huge matchup for playoff implications for both of them, especially because our division sucks.
Yeah, you guys are having a generational mid-off down there.
Yeah. Also, you look at Trevor and Zach. I think that's a very important matchup.
I think Zach took the first game, right?
Zach did take the first game. Zach's still trying to compete with Griff for the bye. I'm sure Trevor hasn't ruled out getting the bye either. But Trevor also is tied with Cherry for the playoffs now, so a loss could knock him out. A win would also have him jump Zach for the number 2 spot because he has him on points, and they'd have the same record. And then going with that too, Cherry versus Steve is a huge matchup.
Yeah. Two guys that are on the outside right now, but a win could go a long way.
Yeah, they're both in that 4 spot right now, and both of them have teams fighting for the playoffs right above them in key matchups this week. So if Cherry could get the win, and if Zach beats Trevor, Cherry's now back in the playoffs. If Trevor beats Zach, Cherry gets the win. He is a game behind both of them. Or, no, he'd be tied with Zach. And they'd all be tied, but he wouldn't have the points.
So he'd still be out.
But Trevor has scored 120 more points than Zach, so easier to kind of
the implications in the standings this week are kind of insane. Where even you think about it, if James beats Jasmus and Steve loses, James hops to 4th and would be tied with Jasmus
and Steve.
But I think, or no, Steve has the points right now, right?
Jasmus is in 1st, Steve's in 2nd, Jim's in 3rd, but they're all within under 100 points.
Yeah.
So that's a really tight spread over there. Also, if Jasmus wins and Steve wins, and I lose, we're all going to be tied. I have a pretty decent lead on Steve, at least. I have like 90 points on Jasmus, 100-something on Steve. So,
and an even funnier scenario that probably isn't going to happen, but if Zach and Trevor tie and Cherry loses, Evan is in the playoffs.
Well, he wouldn't be in the playoffs.
He'd be
half a game out.
Yeah.
He would be half a game out. Yeah. I guess, yeah, if you're there, if Trevor wins, or Trevor loses, and Cherry loses, and Evan wins, he'd be tied for the last playoff spot, but Cherry pretty far back on points. They're close, but not close to Trevor.
Yeah.
And then there's Ryan.
Me and Matt are just we're here.
Yeah, the Matt and Ethan one doesn't have a ton. Well, I guess it still does. These all do have implications. Same with me and Griff. Me winning would help me.
I'm like, oh no, I lost. How bad?
Yeah. So, not that big, but I think this is a huge week. And even from the end of last week, not really with the matchups, but the injuries, the implications, I think this is a huge turning point of the year where it's going to finally kind of see what happens with who, and then going into next week, a lot more big matchups, and we're finally going to get to that point of, if I win here, and this guy loses here, and this guy loses here, I'm pretty much clinched. You could finally start doing that math, and that's always a fun time of the year, finding out who's going to be the first person eliminated. I'll have to check on some of that math, but that might even be after this week.
Yeah, I think I'm out of it. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, if you want it out,
and
you'd get to 7-7.
I probably need both Cherry and Trevor to lose out.
There's a way for you to get the playoffs.
It's possible,
still.
But
if you lose this week, maybe not.
Probably gonna pack it in and get ready for April.
Yeah, but I think this is just a huge week. We didn't really stress it a ton in matchup previews, but I just wanted to kind of bring it out to the world to kind of touch on that a little bit. These next few weeks are going to be a bloodbath and really start to put some shape to the season.
And there's a trade deadline thrown in there.
Yeah, that's in a few weeks.
That's 2 weeks.
More.
That was week 11.
No.
Oh.
It's
13?
I think.
Oh, well then.
Trade deadline.
You still have time to offer me a second for Devin Singletary.
That's been going on for years now.
Yeah, 3 years running.
Don't run out of time now. But yeah, I think this whole year it's been a lot of like, what is going on? We just did a who's going to make the playoffs, and it was like, man, everybody finished with the same record. It's like both divisions, it's so close. I'm so confused. It's the most up in the air it's ever been.
One day I can be a part of it.
And that's what's great about divisions. If not, I would be like, these guys all just made it. Instead, they're still fighting for a spot, and we're fighting for spots.
You guys shouldn't be.
Yeah, probably not.
I say just for chaos next year, just move Ethan to my division and put me in your division just to see the shit show that occurs.
No. Again, maybe next year we do the 2 floaters for the last 2, top 2 in each division, and then 2 floaters, or we just switch up divisions as a whole, or do something else, because this...
4 divisions of 3 teams.
No.
4 divisions of 3 teams.
6 divisions of 2 teams.
Yes. Yes.
You just have to beat the team that you're in the division with to get to the playoffs.
Yes.
1 game only.
Correct.
That would be a funny league. It's you versus one person for the entire season.
No, here's even better. It's rotisserie for the entire regular season, but you're against one person that's trying to score more points, and then it's a matchup like in the playoffs.
This is actually the worst league ever, and I think that's where we're gonna end this.
Yeah,
show.
we're gonna before we create a monster. Let's just. All right, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.